Radio in Calgary, Alberta, and together we'll hear all the ghosts that haunt these airwaves.
You made it in. I made it in.
You did. And you are listening to Practical Lace.
Well, nobody said that ghosts can't be friendly. What was that?
Hello. Welcome back to CJSW 90.9 FM. I'm your host, Carter. This is Airwaves and Eardrums.
And who knew they'd have the best music taste? Wait, look out!
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. It's time for another high-flying edition of the Failed Pilot Show, a program that comes to you every Thursday afternoon.
Did I mention there's over 95 ghosts in this station?
Welcome to Level of Vibes.
The name of the show is Radio Free Transylvania.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Sonic Cycles.
Guess I was wrong. There's nothing scary about 90.9 CJSW Radio.
Fan Club Wallet with the track Moving in Unison to start off this morning's episode of Freeverse, broadcasting live here on CJSW 90.9 FM or CJSW.com, wherever you're joining us here this morning. My name is Molly, and today is a very, very special episode of Freeverse. It's a very special day here on CJSW. Today we are kicking off our Sled Island 2026 live sessions, and I'm very excited to be joined live here in studio with none other than musician, composer, multi-instrumentalist Laraaji. Laraaji is a living legend of ambient electronic music, spellbinding new age music for nearly 5 decades. He studied music theory and composition with a piano major at Washington, D.C.'s Howard University. And in the 70s, he purchased an auto harp from a pawn shop, experimenting with it, and began performing amplified experimental improvisations busking on the streets of New York City. Shortly after his 1978 debut album, Celestial Vibration, Laraaji's 1980 album, which was produced by Brian Eno, the album titled Ambient 3, Day of Radiance, cemented Laraaji as a mainstay of ambient and experimental music. We're going to be chatting with Laraaji today about his 5 decades-long career in music, his spiritual practice, and his seriously playful laughter workshops. I'm very excited to let Laraaji please take it away. Thank you so much. That was Laraaji live here in the CJSW studios. And we're so lucky here on CJSW 90.9 FM on these radio waves that we get to chat with Laraaji live here today. Laraaji, how are you?
Infinite.
CJSW has a wide...
You took that very well.
That segues right in. Our CJSW has a wide, some might say infinite, listener base. And for someone tuning in right now who's never heard of you or never heard this kind of music before, can you introduce yourself and a little bit about your music?
I'm called Laraaji, and I was never born, but the body was, in Philadelphia. I grew up in a family that was spiritual, laughed a lot, and respected education. And my mother and father both supported my being a creative individual and supported my musical interest in an early age. And piano and violin were my early instruments, singing with choirs, church choirs, and school choirs, playing trombone with a high school marching band, and went on to Howard University to pursue my musical interest. At first, in high school, I thought I wanted to be a chemical engineer, and I applied to MIT and all these other well-known technical colleges. But somewhere in the middle of the high school years, I got it that I was going after a superficial image and that my heart was really in music. So I switched my direction to music. I wanted to compose music and play music, and wasn't that concerned anymore about if I was going to make a living at it. So I went to Howard University, received some scholarships, a government loan, which I'd paid back, y'all. And so I went to Howard University, and that was an eye-opener. It was my first really immersion in a college of all people of color, black college. And there I studied music, theory and composition, and laughter and partying on the side. Then came to New York after 4 years of college, thinking I wanted to come to New York and get an apartment, get a grand piano, and write music. And the way that I thought I could do that is if I got into comedy, because comedy was coming up on my radar pretty big. So I did some comedy exploration in New York City and got gigs, film work, tour work. And somewhere along the way, I started becoming interested in consciousness, mindful consciousness, and started exploring mind science and metaphysics. And got it that the comedy that I was doing was polarizing, and that the spiritual work I was pursuing was unifying, so something was a little off there. So I suspended comedy for a while because my material was at the risk, at the expense of other people. And as I pursued studying metaphysics, meditation, mind science, all these things that would give me a deeper sense of connection to my fundamental purpose in life. And the reason I really wanted to do that is because I had a mild success in a film called Putney Swope. And after the movie came out, I realized that I was going into the mass media and not having a sense of basic purpose. And money was not my purpose. So when I got into metaphysics, I started taking off these layers and discovering that I am an infinite field of electromagnetism. Who liked pizza?
Aren't we all?
So anyhow, I ran into this open vastness in my meditation experiences. And on one of the experiences, I attracted this hearing experience. It was like the infinite, all-pervading reunion of everything in the universe is happening now. And now is the only eternity, and everything is one. And that experience may have happened about 10 or 15 minutes of time in a meditative sitting. So it gave me this sound experience that was different from anything I'd heard before. And I said, hey, that's the kind of music I want to be involved with. But I didn't know how I was going to do it because that music was nonlinear. It was in the etheric plane. It had no ending and beginning. But the next day I went to Lincoln Center Library and researched as much as I could find what was that experience I had? And I discovered some spiritual traditions recognize this inner sound. It says it has no beginning, no ending, it's unstruck. Spiritual seekers use this sound to lift themselves out of the individual separate sense of self into the universal sense of I am. And I said, yeah, that's what happened there. And I didn't know what I was going to do with the experience. And a month later, I was guided to be in a pawn shop in New York to pawn my guitar, because I was playing music on a Fender Rhodes with a jazz rock band, and I didn't need my guitar for a while. So I went in the pawn shop. I needed money. And as I was going into the pawn shop, I saw this zither auto harp in the window. I had only been familiar with it, seeing it in bluegrass music ensembles in New York while I was doing comedy. Some of the nights would have Kentucky bluegrass music, and I'd see this instrument. That was my only visual contact with it. So here I am in New York going into the pawn shop with my guitar, my Martin 6-string guitar, fiberglass case, thinking I'm going to get $175 at least for this. And the clerk offered me only $25. And I said, this is not going to work. I need money. And a voice, a very clear, like a cosmic grandparent voice, said, don't take money. Swap it for the instrument in the window. It was so clear and directive that I was startled and scientifically curious. Hey, what's going on here? So I swapped it, my guitar, for that auto harp and $5. I made a deal. And so I went home and I started tuning my favorite open tune guitar tunings in open tune zither. And following guidance, eventually developed an electric sound and a vocabulary that I was playing on the sidewalks of Brooklyn and New York, and making money and getting invited to expos and churches and openings of yoga centers. And it didn't dawn on me till later when somebody said, hey, I feel like I'm in heaven. And wow, this music is allowing me to connect with that feeling I had in that mystical sound journey. And so I kept developing this instrument and became an exotic sound, and it capitalized on my compositional and piano skills learned at Howard University, and it brought me all the way here to Alberta, Canada.
And we're so thankful it did. Thank you so much for joining, and for any of our listeners tuning in just now, this is Laraaji joining us live here on CJSW 90.9 FM. Laraaji, I also had the pleasure of welcoming my show neighbors from the previous show here in the booth as well. This is Joni and Winter.
Hello.
Howdy.
I really wanted to talk about, you touched on your experience in comedy, and I really want to talk about the role that laughter plays in your practice and your seriously playful laughter workshops. Can you talk a bit about laughter in your music and your spiritual practice, why it's important?
I've always laughed. Sometimes I stop to take water, but I laughed a lot. Growing up in a laughing family, very laughed. And the thing with my grandfather, who lived in the country of Virginia, in the backwoods of Virginia, when I went to stay with him for a while, the grandfolks, that he had this laughter that would ring throughout the whole countryside. It would go up to the upper register. So I think he opened up my laughter envelope. And in grade school, whenever there was an opportunity to do a talent show, I would jump in with skits and antics and slapstick, all the way up to college doing comedy. And at some point, I decided the comedy was good, but I was going at it in a way that wasn't helpful. It was toxic comedy. And then I got hold of a Bhagwan Rajneesh book on meditations, a Orange Book of Meditations, and on each page there was a description of a different kind of meditation you could experiment with. And on one page it was laughter meditation, and I didn't know those two words went together, laughter meditation. And the instructions were simply for 15 minutes in the morning, wake up, keep your eyes closed, do some stretches, then laugh for 15 minutes. I said, okay, I'll try that. And it took me sometimes 5 minutes to get into my authentic laughter, and I would notice my body language and my breath patterns. And lying down laughing was not something I normally did, but I was impressed where I could go. It was like breath meditation, breath yoga. And I would notice for the rest of the day, I could access laughter easier. There were things I could laugh with. I could hold space for other people's laughter. I became a connoisseur of laughter in public places. And during that time, I was doing healing music workshops at conferences, New Age conferences, and I started to slip in a little laughter exercises, and 5 minutes turned into 2 hours workshop, and with the help of a Dr. Kataria from India, he and his wife did research on the healing benefits of laughter, and I took that paper of healing benefits and constructed, along with a partner, laughter sizes that I call them, that I now conduct laughter workshops with these laughter sizes, and they're inward. You go, let's say for instance, we start the workshop out by getting people into the play zone, so that your inner child accompanies on this journey, so that it's a playful experience rather than a workshop is a play shop. For instance, there's a laughter that you get into your head with. You go, if you're in your water body, playing with your water body, you, then you start vibrating your head, and you start sending sounds into your cranium, and let those sounds become a head-specific laughter, which will probably be new for some of us, but it's an opportunity to be creative. And this kind of approach takes place through the head. You touch the pituitary and the pineal gland, then you touch the thyroid and the throat. Now, a room full of people doing this, and I eventually asked them to make eye contact with one another while they're doing it, and that ups the energy of the laughter. And you go into the heart, laughing the heart, then you laugh the thymus and the chest, the seat of our immune system. Then you got a laughter for massaging the abdominal organs. Then you got a laughter that acknowledges that breath gets released and recycled during the laughing experience. And you do a round of breath-oriented laughter, totally releasing. Now, all of this can take place within 15 or 20 minutes, and then the participants get to lie down and run these exercises as if they were waking up in the morning. And they get to see that after 15 minutes, how much tension is released from their body, how much stress is released, how much this kind of exercise takes them into that zone that's similar to Shavasana. In yoga, it's called Shavasana, the corpse pose. And so there's the heart of the laughter play shop. And people usually come out of this feeling exuberant, energized, relaxed, and playful. And in many of these places, like a yoga center or a conference hall, people coming out usually pass by the reception desk. And usually when I'm the last one out of the whole evening, I'm passing by the reception desk, and the reception desk usually says, "What did you do to those people? They came out transformed." And I hear that quite often. And before the workshop, people say, "How are you going to get us to laugh?" And after it, they're in a new body of laughter, and they've reconnected with their laughter. And it's not a trick. It's getting people into the play zone, inviting your inner child, and learning how to play with laughter amongst people in a play, laughter, intentional environment.
I think your music definitely taps into that play zone and that play shop environment. Listening to the first half of your set there, I just felt the lightness of it. And I think it's really impressive that, you tap into that with your sounds as well.
I'm glad you recognize that, because to answer your question, Molly, yes, that the play zone laughter does spill over into a playful approach to music.
I want to know, besides music or laughing, how else do you play? How do you get into the play zone?
Dance, barefoot dancing a lot, something called 5 rhythm dancing, barefoot dancing, ecstatic dancing, this free-form dancing. That's one way. Another way. Other ways, those basically eating. Play with my food. I like eating with chopsticks whenever I can.
You did say we're celestial beings who like pizza. So, case in point.
Have you ever tried to eat pizza with chopsticks?
No, but thanks for the suggestion. I had some pasta last night with chopsticks.
Okay.
I like eating some dessert with chopsticks. It takes a little longer, but it's fun.
The Play Zone. Thank you so much, Laraaji, for sharing about your music, your background, the importance that play and laughter takes in your music and what you're bringing here today. We have another about 30 minutes left of the show. Would you like to play some more music for our listeners?
No, I would not like to resist. Thank you. It goes a little something like that.
We're joined live here in studio with Laraaji. Laraaji, for anyone tuning in right now, you're set up in our band room here in CJSW, and you have a couple instruments, you have a couple things going on around you. Could you describe what you're playing to our listeners right now?
This is not an oboe. It's a piano, electric piano, and a pretty hardy one by Yamaha. It's got many settings on it. Organ, piano. And then we have the stringed instrument, it can call be the zither, the auto harp, or Zen 36 strings vibrating on a piece of wood. Then we have the kalimba. An African thumb piano. This particular instrument in Africa relates to ancestral energy. Before I ever played one, I admired like Maurice White in Earth, Wind and Fire would play with the Earth, Wind and Fire, and I was so impressed with it. It didn't occur to me that I would enjoy playing it till someone put one in my hand and I fiddled around with it. I said, yes, I can do this. And so I started, playing and just exploring it on my own without any formal training. And it turned out to be a gentle instrument to include in my repertoire.
Earlier you were talking about the sort of cosmic experience of encountering the zither in that pawn shop in New York in the 70s. And, one might say you specialize, or it's, however you want to phrase it, but how is your, I don't know, maybe relationship is the wrong word, but how have you found that your relationship to the zither and how you play it has changed or evolved over time?
Changed my what over time?
Changed or evolved over time.
Well, one thing that studying piano, or actually studying many instruments in college, it taught me how to learn or how to teach myself a new instrument, how to design exercises and calisthenics. The instrument tunings have evolved, that I've experimented with tunings from around the world. A lot of times I'll stay in pentatonic tunings, but I've tried Japanese tunings, Balinese tunings, which work with a pedal mode. So modal tunings have come along. And also the electronics. When I began playing this instrument, the portable electronics were very minimal, like a phase shifter, and I would have to go into a studio to have access to the big reverbs and all the fancy gear. And along the way, after many studio sessions with professional equipment, I learned that there was a bigger world of sound painting with electronics. And eventually they became smaller and smaller and affordable. And I began traveling with lightweight, compact, and portable. That was my theme, to stay lightweight, compact, and portable. And so the advance in electric sound came through exploring and experimenting with various electronic pedals, finding pedals that had a unique sound, a sound that I could use in sound painting, and reaching for expressions.
What?
The more expensive pedals were cleaner and quieter, and gave me sounds that I could reach for that I didn't know were waiting for me. So the main advance with electric, with the zither, was through the electronics. Also, performance-wise, learning to things like the ebow, which was used for the guitar. Some of you might be familiar with it. electronic ebow. It goes on guitar and bows the strings through electromagnetism. There's that word again. And I didn't know I could do that until I started exploring it. So experimentation and exploration, and using that acting term in acting schools, you give an actor and actress a role, and they don't, how am I going to do that? And the big thing is, what if? You use the big what if. And what if on the other side of the room there was a banana and you needed a banana real quick? How would you walk across that room for a banana? So the big what if here is I would walk through a hardware store, or like in Tokyo, there's a store called Tokyo Hands. Walk through a art craft store, and I look at that. What if I played the instrument with that? What if I took that? And so it called for investing in myself. Sometimes if I was in a very remote part of the world and I saw something I wanted to experiment with, I'd get 5 of them just in case one of them was what I wanted. So I started exploring, experimenting, and investing. And sometimes I'd buy things that I don't really use anymore. But that's part of the process, expanding by experimenting. What if I played the instrument with snare brushes? Or what if I bowed that instrument with a cello bow? Or what if I let a toddler stand on top of my zither? What would that sound like? So the experimental approach has expanded and also discovered that the marriage between the instruments can work, like sympathetic vibration of this instrument against. So the instrument can act like a sympathetic vibration to another instrument.
Huh. That's so mesmerizing to hear this. Now, with your instruments, I mean, like, obviously you've got quite a kit with you. Do you find that they each sort of have their own spiritual identities or personalities? And, like, how do you play with those elements of them?
They do. They have. And they can work in a, when we come back to that cosmic hearing experience, it is teaching me that all the sounds in the universe are happening simultaneous, and that the grand sound of cosmic music is everything happening at the same time. So all here in the linear plane, in the lateral plane, we see things as separate while we're using the 5 senses. But since I was, say, initiated into the reality that everything is happening simultaneously, when I walk on stage with many instruments, I see just one. So there's no separation.
Yeah.
And they're in the moment channeling the same musical consciousness. But that is quite, to answer the question on a literal sense, some of these instruments, this one in particular, stays pretty well in tune during traveling. And but sometimes I have difficulty with sound engineers when they pick up a buzz from it and have to work with it. This instrument, the zither, I do have to fine-tune it every time I'm playing, especially for recordings, for it to get a good sound. And sometimes the strings, I have to break a string on here, and I have to replace it with whatever strings I have at that time if I'm on tour. And so what happens is eventually you get a hodgepodge of strings on here, and I build a tuning around what's available. And on the keyboard is self-tuned, and I do love a piano. It sometimes, though, electric pianos, unless you got a very good subwoofer and good sound system, don't come across as therapeutic to listen to. It depends on the sound, and but I can still be playful with it and treat it less as a tone instrument and more as a percussion instrument, so that rhythm can be what I'm communicating, with tone being secondary.
Thank you so much for sharing some of that consciousness with us.
It's fascinating to use the electronic piano as a percussion instrument. That's a really beautiful way to reimagine the way people traditionally think music works. Thank you for that.
A toddler taught me that.
They're the smartest.
Truly.
They're the most in tune, I think.
And they are very good at play.
Yes.
Laraaji, would you do us the honors of playing another song or
Yes.
several songs?
Why don't I try the African thumb piano?
That's Laraaji live here on the CJSW 90.9 FM airwaves. Laraaji, we only have about 10 minutes left here today. Thank you so much for joining us. You look like you have a question, Joni.
Well, I just wanted to ask, you have such interesting and significant vocals as part of your music, and I wanted to maybe ask what role vocals have in your performances and in your craft.
From a therapeutic healing perspective, I regard tone and tonality as contributors to atmosphere and mood that impact the listener on an emotional, psychological level. And so the movement along the lines of using the voice as a toning instrument, soothing, communicating soft, gentle, soothing, therapeutic intention. So using the voice for that purpose. And in exchange or in separate from using it for verbiage, I found that it, especially when I'm in jam sessions with other artists, and we're just using our voices as toning instruments and finding it soothing to the body, it relaxes the brain from thinking, and so that's my first, I'd say, preferable use of voice in concert and in performance. And if I get into words, I find that mantras and chants allow me to still channel that intention of using the tone of voice and tonality as a communication content.
Thank you so much. I feel like I've learned so much just from listening to you speak over the last hour, and I hope our listeners have as well.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Laraaji, for joining us. I was chatting with Joni and Winter how recently I've been watching some other interviews of yours, and I can't remember where, but I saw another interview where you were speaking about how you sometimes in your performance or in your practice you're seeking to not just play music, but to baptize people with music and their tone and with laughter. And I really feel like you've brought that here through the airwaves today to our listeners here on CJSW. So thank you so much for your time. So tonight, Laraaji is playing at the Central United Church as part of the Sled Island 2026 Music Festival. I believe there might still be tickets, so head to the Sled Island website. And if there are not tickets still available, you have been blessed to tune in live here today. Laraaji, thank you so much. Would you mind playing one last song to take us out for today?
Okay, dokie.
That has been Laraaji live here in the CJSW studios from 10 to 11 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, broadcasting live. This has been Freeverse here Wednesday mornings from 10 to 11 a.m. My name is Molly.
My name is Joni.
And my name is Winter.
I have had the pleasure of being joined not only by my fabulous show neighbors who host Practical Lace, but also by the vibrations and the sounds and the transmissions that were brought to us by Laraaji here today. That brings us to the end of our live session this morning. Do stick around, keep it locked, stay tuned. You're going to hear a whole host of amazing Sled Island musicians making their way through CJSW shows over the next several days. Up next, we have on local singles, we have Thea, and then we have Tengingagun on Air Apparent this afternoon.
Thank you so much, Molly, for letting us sit in.
Truly such a slice.
It's fantastic.
Always the best.
A slice of chopstick pizza, as you might say.
A slice of chopstick pizza.
As one might say, we are infinite. So thanks, everyone, for joining us today. I'm going to have a track from Calgary's Ryan Bourne take us to the end of the show today. This is End of Story, and a very fitting track to close things out.
Yeah.
Keep it locked, stick around here on CJSW 90.9 FM.